You are 17 years old. The first time someone hands you an envelope and tells you not to open it. It's a Tuesday. You remember because your mother is home, which means she isn't working the night shift at the laundromat, which means dinner might actually happen tonight. You're standing outside the bodega on Calle Reforma, the one with the broken AC unit that drips brown water on the sidewalk, when Miguel finds you. Miguel is 23 and drives a truck that is too clean for this neighborhood. He doesn't ask if you want the job. He just holds out the envelope and tells you the address. Tells you to walk, not run. Tells you to smile if anyone looks at you. Tells you there's 400 pesos waiting when you get back. You walk. You don't open the envelope. You are paid. That is how it begins. Not with a dramatic offer. Not with a choice between two lives. It begins with 400 pesos and a Tuesday and the fact that your mother needs insulin and the pharmacy doesn't do credit anymore. Within 3 weeks, you know the routes. Within 6 weeks, Miguel doesn't have to tell you the addresses anymore. You memorize them the way other kids memorize soccer scores. You learn which streets have cameras. You learn which vendors are watching for the wrong people. You learn that the man who sells elotes on the corner of Avenida Cinco is not selling elotes. He is watching, and he reports to someone whose name you will not learn for another 2 years. The envelope job lasts 4 months before it ends, the way everything in this world ends. Suddenly, and because of someone else's mistake, a runner 2 blocks over gets stopped by a cop who isn't on the payroll. The cop isn't looking for anything specific. He is just bored, and the kid looks nervous. That's all it takes. The whole route shuts down for 11 days. You sit at home. You eat less. Your mother asks if you've been fired from the warehouse job you told her you had. You tell her they cut your hours. When Miguel calls again, he doesn't offer you the envelope job back. He offers you something else. The stash house on Calle Independencia smells like bleach and cigarettes and something underneath both that you will never be able to name but will recognize for the rest of your life. There are 3 other guys there when you arrive. You know one of them, Chino, from school. He dropped out at 15. He looks older now. He doesn't acknowledge that you know each other and you understand immediately that this is the correct response. Your job is simple. You count. You package. You log numbers in a notebook using a code that takes you 40 minutes to learn and that you will never write down anywhere else. The work is tedious in a way that surprises you. You expected something that felt dangerous. Instead, it feels like working in a stockroom. Boxes in, boxes out. Numbers in, numbers out. The danger is theoretical until it isn't. The first time you see actual violence, you are in the stash house on a Thursday afternoon when 2 men bring in a 3rd man whose hands are zip-tied behind his back. You have been told, implicitly, through the behavior of every person around you, that there are rooms you don't look into and sounds you don't react to. You keep your head down. You keep counting. Your hands do not shake, which surprises you. Later, alone, they shake for 40 minutes straight, but in the room, they are steady. Chino tells you afterward that steadiness is the most valuable thing in this business. More than loyalty, more than muscle, more than brains even. The people who rise, he says, are the ones who can function when everything around them is chaos. You file this away. You are paid 6,000 pesos a week. You tell your mother you got a logistics job at a distribution company. She asks if it has benefits. You tell her you're working on it. 8 months in, someone at a higher level notices you. You don't know his real name. No one uses real names past a certain point. You will come to understand that names are a liability, that the people who matter most in this structure are the ones who exist the least on paper. He is referred to as El Contador, the accountant, though he does not look like any accountant you have ever imagined. He is 40, maybe 45, and he dresses like a mid-level government employee, which you will later understand is entirely intentional. He sits across from you in a room above a tire shop and asks you 3 questions. He asks you what you think the biggest risk in the current operation is. He asks you what you would change if you were running the stash house. He asks you what you want. You answer the first 2 carefully, honestly, because you have spent 8 months watching and you have actual observations. You hesitate on the 3rd. Then you tell him the truth. You want to stop being the person that other people give instructions to. He nods once. He doesn't smile. He leaves. 2 days later, your weekly payment doubles. The promotion doesn't come with a title or a ceremony. It comes with a phone, a specific phone, prepaid, changed every 10 days, that connects you to a rotating list of contacts you will never meet in person. Your job now is coordination. You are the point between the stash houses and the distribution network. You are the person who knows where things are and where they need to go. You know which drivers are reliable and which ones have started using their own product, which is a problem that solves itself eventually but needs to be managed in the meantime. You are 19. You have 12 people beneath you in the chain, none of whom know your name. You make mistakes. A shipment gets delayed because you trusted a driver you shouldn't have trusted. You lose 4 days of product and have to answer for it to El Contador, who listens to your explanation without interrupting and then tells you that the cost of the delay will come from your payments over the next 6 weeks. He does not threaten you. He does not raise his voice. The absence of both is somehow more frightening than either would have been. You learn from this. You build redundancies. You have backup drivers, backup routes, backup contacts for every single node in the network you manage. You begin to understand that the job is not about moving product. The job is about managing risk. Product is just the variable. Risk is the constant. El Contador notices this shift in your thinking. You can tell because the phone conversations get longer. He begins to ask your opinion on things that fall outside your direct responsibilities. You give your opinions carefully and only when you're certain, which means you sometimes say, "I don't know enough about that yet," which he seems to respect more than a confident wrong answer. You are 21 when he introduces you to the man above him. You have heard the name Senor Vargas in the way you hear weather reports as a background fact about the environment you operate in. He controls 4 states. He has arrangements with people in the federal government whose names appear in newspapers. He has been the subject of 3 American indictments, none of which have produced results, because the results would require cooperation that is not forthcoming. The meeting happens in a ranch house 3 hours outside the city. You are driven there in a vehicle with tinted windows by a man who does not speak for the entire journey. The ranch is not what you expected. It is not flashy. The house is large but functional. The horses in the field are working animals, not showpieces. Everything about the property communicates a specific message. I do not need to impress you. Vargas is 60, compact, with the unhurried manner of someone who has not been in a hurry for 20 years because there is no one left to rush him. He shakes your hand. He knows your history, which means El Contador has been reporting on you in detail, which you already assume but now know for certain. He asks you about your mother, which tells you he knows where she lives. This is not a threat. It is information. You file it accordingly. He offers you a regional coordination role covering 2 states. The money is significant enough that the number he names takes a moment to process. You will have a team, a budget, a layer of insulation between you and the physical operations. You will exist even further from paper. Your decisions will affect hundreds of people in the network without any of them knowing your face. You ask for 24 hours to consider. He says you have until morning. Dude, sleep. Not because you're afraid, though you are, because you are calculating. You are mapping the decision tree the way you have trained yourself to map every problem, identifying the risks, the redundancies, the exit points. You understand, sitting in the dark of the guest room at the ranch, that there are no real exit points. There haven't been for a long time. You are not. Deciding whether to enter. You entered 3 years ago on a Tuesday with an envelope and 400 pesos. You are deciding how deep. In the morning you tell him yes. The next 4 years are the education you never got anywhere else. You learn how money moves. Not the surface version, not cash in bags and offshore accounts, which is amateur thinking. The sophisticated version. Shell companies registered in jurisdictions with specific treaty arrangements, real estate transactions structured to absorb large cash flows. Legitimate businesses that lose money on paper because losing money on paper is sometimes the entire point. You work with lawyers and accountants and financial advisors who know exactly what they are doing and have made their peace with it. They are professionals. You treat them as such. You learn how loyalty works at scale, which is differently than it works between individuals. At scale, loyalty is maintained through a combination of dependency, incentive, and fear, calibrated differently for each person. The driver who has 3 children needs different management than the lawyer who has ambitions. The cop on the payroll needs different handling than the politician. You become skilled at reading people's actual motivations rather than their staged ones. You become skilled at giving people what they actually want rather than what they ask for, because those are rarely the same thing. You learn how to handle the problems that have no clean solution. A mid-level coordinator is skimming, not enough to matter financially, but enough to matter as a signal. If you ignore it, others will skim. If you handle it harshly, you create fear in people who weren't skimming. You handle it quietly, personally, in a way that communicates awareness without broadcasting the message. The skimming stops. No one else learns why. You are 24 when Vargas B. Eggins, including you, in conversations about the American market. You are 25 when El Contador disappears. Not killed, disappeared, which in this world is a different category. He surfaces 6 months later in another country, which means he made a decision and had the resources to execute it. You understand this as a lesson about planning. He had always been planning. The exit he took was not improvised. You find yourself thinking about his exit more than you expected to. At 26, you control operations across 3 states. You have a legitimate business, a construction company, that employs 40 people who do actual construction. The business exists partly as a financial instrument, and partly because it turns out you are genuinely good at running it, which surprises you. You find that the skills transfer almost completely. Managing risk, managing people, building redundancy into systems. The only difference is that when something goes wrong in construction, you don't have to calculate whether the solution might require you to make someone disappear. You have an apartment in the city that is registered to a company that is registered to another company. You have a second apartment, simpler, where you actually live most of the time. You have learned to want less than you can afford, which is the discipline that separates the people who last from the people who don't. The ones who buy the flashy trucks and the visible houses are making a statement. Statements attract attention. Attention is risk. Your mother's insulin costs nothing now. She believes this is because of the construction company. You have never told her anything else. When you visit her apartment, which she has never let you upgrade because she is suspicious of large gestures, you sit in the kitchen and drink coffee, and she tells you about the neighbors, and you listen, and you are. For those hours, something close to the person you were before a Tuesday and an envelope changed the geometry of your life. You don't think about getting out anymore. That is the most significant thing you will never say out loud. You think about El Contador in his other country, and you wonder if he think about this the way you think about it, not as a regret exactly, but as a weight you have learned to carry so well that you sometimes forget it's there until a moment like this one, sitting in your mother's kitchen, when you become briefly, quietly aware of exactly how much you are carrying, and exactly how long you have been carrying it, and exactly how little chance there is that you will ever be able to put it down. The phone in your pocket vibrates. You look at the screen, you stand up, tell your mother you'll be back next week, and walk out into the street. You answer the call before the second ring. You already know what it is. You already know what you'll say.